is up, you guys? Welcome to the SW Bricks and Figs channel. It brings me great joy to say welcome back to another brand new mock building series. I've been super excited to get started with this one ever since I finished my last series. I've been really excited to get going with this, and the day has finally arrived where we start our brand new building Coruscant, the Hunt for Ahsoka mock. This week's episode starts off, of course, with some planning, guys. What mock building series doesn't really start off with that? I'm going to try and paint a picture in your guys' heads of what I'm going to be building in this awesome brand new mock. And then, of course, we're going to go ahead and get some building done later on in the episode. So make sure to stay tuned for the entire video to make sure you see everything that I get done in this episode. But without further ado, let's go straight into episode 1 of this mock build series. Okay, guys, so I finally started to plan out my next brand new Lego Star Wars mock, and I'm super hyped about this. It's going to be the biggest mock I've built ever by far. So if you don't know already, I am building Ahsoka's escape from the Coruscant sort of prison / Republic base, and this is how it's going to sort of feature. I'm going to take you through this and show you sort of where I'm roughly going to put things. I've sort of started to lay things out and worked out the size of things, and I'm going to go through this right now and show you a brief look at what I'm going to be making. Okay, so you can see the mock as a whole is pretty big. It is in total 3 48 by 48 grey base plates long, and then it's got some green base plates running down the outside, so it's basically 32 plus 48 wide by 3 48s long, which is pretty big. It's by far the biggest mock I've ever built. The biggest one I ever did before was about 2 grey base plates long by a grey and a green wide, and this is going to be a lot bigger, and I'm super excited for this. So obviously this doesn't really mean much to you guys. You can't really tell what I'm going to be doing yet, but I'm going to be talking you through a little bit in this video why I've laid out a few things, where I have, and talk you through what's going to be going on this mock. Okay, so basically this is the scene where Ahsoka escapes from the Republic prison, and basically I'm going to have the sort of prison / base starting up here. So these two grey rectangles you see here, those two are going to be the sort of very outside of the base. There'll be some nice curved or sloped sort of walls on the exterior of the base. Then you see these two dark bluish grey sort of lines. These are where the flags go. So there's these flags that run along either side, and then there's going to be some sort of thing in the middle here, maybe even a statue just right there in the center of a clone trooper, which is basically the exit of the base. And you see this nice sort of runway. I'm only going to do the last section of it, so I'm going to have the red flags either side linking up right there. Then you see these other two grey rectangles right here. These are going to be the turrets, so these are going to have to be my own full design, and I'm going to basically be putting those here. You see one of them actually shoots a ship that Ahsoka is running for in the show, and that is definitely something I wanted to include. So those are going to go roughly around there, maybe a bit closer to the actual walls. I'm not entirely sure. I need to look back at the reference and see how close that is. But next up, a big thing is the big Republic symbol in the middle here. Now I definitely wanted to include this, so I'm going to have that here, and that's where there is a sort of curved design here. You see kind of like this curved wall where it sort of steps down onto the more landing platform sort of area. So speaking of that, we're going to have the big curved wall here running around the outside of that big Republic insignia here. That's going to be a huge challenge, and I'm really excited to do that. I definitely wanted to give enough space for that, as well as enough space for the landing platform. You kind of see Ahsoka run down from the main bit here down sort of a flight of steps, so I'm going to have to include those, and then onto the actual landing platform area, which is going to be here. I'm probably going to have a gunship on one side maybe, or some sort of like smaller vehicles on one side, and then we are going to sort of drop down again another level. So these are all going to be leveled, so that'll be the highest there. We'll go down one level here, and then one level here again. So this little row here, I'm either going to do it there, or I'm going to start it at the end of these two pipes. This is where you go into sort of like the piping area. So you basically see these huge pipes that Ahsoka runs away from the clones and that sort of thing on, and I'm basically going to have these are going to be really set down into the ground. So this is going to be very high up, so this is going to be sort of like, maybe if that's the ground level there, it'll probably be around there. So it'll be a nice big drop down, and you'll see these runways or walkways above the pipes and stuff like that. So I'm going to have, I think 3 is what I'm going to go for of these pipes. Obviously these are just halves at the moment. I don't have enough to do sort of like full pipes yet, but I thought I'd just lay them out like this. I'm either going to start it there or start it there, depending on how much room I want for the actual landing pad right there. I haven't quite decided what that is going to be yet, but yeah, I think it's going to look pretty amazing. I'm really hyped for this. So basically these areas are going to have like the walkways either side. I'm probably going to have a gunship flying somewhere around here or something like that, chasing her down with the lights looking across onto her, and then have some shock troopers running along either one of these, and her maybe running along the middle bit here. But yeah, this is going to be a really sick mock. I'm super excited for this, and I'm really happy with the way this layout is coming out so far. But let me know what you think of this so far. Throughout this whole series, I'm definitely going to need your suggestions, so I really would enjoy that if you guys could just leave some suggestions down in the comment section down below. What do you think of this layout so far? I was very tempted just to do like 3 grey base plates, maybe even a bit longer, but I decided to go a bit wider as well. And just go for this sort of setup right here. You can see it takes up a majority of my desk here. I still have a bit of space over there, which is good. But yeah, it's going to take up a lot of space, and it's going to be by far the biggest mock. So I'm super excited to get started on this. It's going to be a great project to work on for the next few months or so like that, and I'm really excited for this. Anyway, I feel like that is enough talking. It's a building series after all, so let's get some building done. So the first thing I wanted to do was assess how high up I want the pipe, so I can work out the level of the entire mock from here. So the first problem I ran into was that this was sort of spinning. I got this layered up high, but it was sort of spinning, so I ended up coming up with this technique where I put this little pin here just to hold it on, and I thought this was a good little connection here now. So I added this onto the end of the pipe here, and then I added it into place like so onto the little tower. This tower is not permanent. This is kind of just like how it's going to be for now, just to stack it up just so I could work out the correct height. After this, I ended up building up the other end so I could have it at the same height and work out how I connect it on the other end. So for this end, it was a lot easier. All I had to do was just add a 2x2 round piece onto the end, and this just stopped it from spinning quite as much on this end as well. I then clipped this onto the end of the pipe and added it to the wall that I built up on this side. So now I have the pipe at the correct height I wanted it to be at, so I can sort of reference this across from the end of the mock onwards now, and I can have this so it runs smoothly onto the next layer along. This was just really helpful in finding out how high I wanted the rest of the mock. I sort of built up and secured the ends now just to make it a little bit more secure on. But this is definitely not permanent, and I'll definitely come back in and replace this area. The fact that I've got one pipe now completely done definitely helps me to now know how many pieces I need to order to complete the other 2 pipes. And also it's just a nice way to find out the height, as I said before, and so I can get this all set up and ready to go for the rest of the mock. Obviously later on down the line I've got to work out how to add some walkways and stairs and that sort of thing to this area. But for now I'm pretty happy with how much I've done on this pipe. So I then went ahead and built up this wall a little bit more, adding a few details in there. I was really happy with the sort of like ladder technique that looks like you could sort of climb down and service the pipes and that sort of thing. And then there's like these few other details in there as well. I then wanted to work on the other end of the pipe where I wanted to try and incorporate these sort of sloped areas that sort of encompass the pipes at the back end, and I just wanted to have this so it would sort of support the pipe as well as sort of adding a nice little finish to this end of the mock. I wasn't entirely happy with how I did this quite yet, but I will be coming back in and changing this up for sure later in this episode. This also gave me the opportunity to work out what I was going to do with the walkways that run along on top of the pipes. Obviously I was just sort of testing out the height and that sort of thing in here, but that's kind of how they're going to look running along the entirety of the pipe. I also began to work on the filler brick that was going to go behind, sort of further up the mock, just trying to build this up to the right level and working out how many bricks I was going to need to sort of fill this whole area. After this I carried on adding some details across the mock, including these sort of sloped areas in which I was going to use these hinge bricks to add this nice little bit of grill technique and add a bit more detail here. So I decided to make these up, and I'm now adding these into the mock right here. You can see I also went back and added a few little details into that wall with some masonry bricks and that sort of thing. I don't want to make this too detailed because in that section between the 2 slopes is actually going to be where I put some stairs and that sort of thing. So this doesn't need to be too detailed, but I'm glad I put those there and it sort of frames the stairs quite nicely. As I said before, I wasn't entirely happy with how I did this end of the pipe. I think this was a bit too blocky and too thick on either side, so I decided to try this technique out with some arches and stuff, and I think this came together a lot nicer. I definitely do prefer it. Let me know which one you prefer out of these 2 designs, and I'll definitely get to choosing one for the entirety of this sort of end of the mock. But yeah, I think this turned out pretty well in the end, and I'm definitely more happy with the second design. But let me know what you think for sure. Then the final thing I did was remove the pipe and add some tiling and stuff here with some vents and that sort of thing running along the floor. It's not very detailed. I probably will end up going back in and adding some more details in here. It doesn't have to be the most detailed area in the world. I mean, it's only going to be like sort of underneath the pipes, but I think I will come back in and add some more details. But let me know what you think of this so far. I think it sort of adds a nice clean effect, and I definitely wanted to have that sort of finished and sort of practice that before I go ahead and end this episode. But yeah guys, that is it for today's episode. That is everything I got done this week. I hope you did enjoy. I am super hyped to be back to mock building. If you're just as excited as I am, make sure to smash that like button. I am so happy to have this constant series back on the channel, guys. I do love it when I have a mock to build along with you guys. And make sure to leave all of your comments and feedback in the comment section down below. As always, the support's been great recently. Thank you so much for everything you guys have been doing. But without further ado, that's it for this week, guys. Of course, you can come back next Saturday for another update. But in the meantime, there's going to be tons of other videos posted on my channel. I've got lots of awesome stuff coming up at the moment, so make sure you hit that subscribe button with that post notification bell rang so you don't miss out on any videos that I do post. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.